Hey there, modern math teacher. Have you ever had a class that absolutely loved one of your lessons, and then another class on the same exact day is just a complete flop with it, right? Same teacher, same lesson, same materials. And honestly, you guys, for a long time, having those different experiences made me feel like I was the one doing something wrong. Because really, what I used to think was that consistency meant that every class should basically look the same, right? But this year completely changed how I feel about that. And now I actually think one of the biggest mistakes that we make as teachers is trying to teach every class period the exact same way. Okay. So if you're up for it, let's do this, guys. I'm Chris Moore, your host here on the Modern Math Teacher podcast. We're in Poolside PD. And in this episode, we're going to talk about why teaching the same lesson 5 times never actually works, how my understanding of differentiation changed throughout this year, and how responsive teaching is one of the most important skills we can develop as math teachers. Now, let's get right into it, okay? This myth of consistency. I think that a lot of us were taught, either directly or indirectly, that consistency means sameness, right? Like same pacing, same examples, same structure, same timing, same. And if one class gets off schedule or needs something different, it kind of feels like maybe we messed up, right? But this year, especially teaching both co-taught and traditional Algebra 2, I realized that consistency is not sameness. Consistency is in my expectations. It's in my high expectations. It is in my clear structures and is about my intentional learning goals. But the path that our students can take to get there, that's going to look a little bit different. And honestly, I think it probably should. Now, this year really changed how I was thinking about differentiation and making sure that I was meeting the learners' needs in all of my different classes. You know, like a lot of us, I think for a long time, we hear the word differentiation and it's one of those buzzwords. And you're like, great, I'm going to give some different assignments. I'm going to create some leveled tasks, mild, medium, spicy, offer students some choice, right? And those are definitely things that are part of it. But what I realized this year is that you can differentiate, again, class to class. And I made this kind of comment in our last episode. But that was really a big mindset shift for me, because every class really has its own personality. They have their own pacing, like even within the hour, right? Their own confidence level, their own participation style, their own energy and vibe. Some of my classes needed more processing time. Some of them needed more direct structure. And some needed more independent discussion before they got, more group discussion before they got to that independent work. Other classes I had were ready to move faster through the material, explore more independently and challenge themselves individually, right? Or jump into productive struggle more quickly. They were just more ready for that, right? And trying to force these groups into identical experiences doesn't actually support the learning. Now, I'm thinking that responsive teaching is really intentional teaching, right? Here's the important part. Responsive teaching is not making things easier. It is not lowering expectations. It's not, well, this class can't handle this. Instead, you guys, it's asking, what do these students need in order to access that rigorous thinking? That's different. And honestly, you guys, that requires much more intentionality than just teaching the same lesson over and over and over again. Okay? So this showed up in so many little different ways this year in my classroom. Things like changing how much discussions we did before independent work, adjusting the pacing between the activities, using timers with some classes and not with others, building in more structured partner talk, regrouping my students a little bit more often or having them turn to the person behind them instead of beside them, adding in mini breaks of some sort to reset attention. Some of my classes needed like a whole class walk. I'm like, you all have 2 minutes. Go fill your water. You go do this. Other classes didn't need that. They needed 2 minutes of like quiet processing time, and they could do that. And we set a timer and they would answer something independently, and then they were ready to move on, right? Everything became a little bit different and a little more intentionally designed for these students, right? Even my questioning really changed between my classes. Some of my groups needed some more confidence building questions, and I like to call them quick wins, right? Anything I could get them to do to participate, to hear that their voice contributed positively to the discussion. Some of my classes really needed that. Other classes needed more probing questions where they had to like kind of argue with one another and try to decide who, whose thinking was right or could we build on it, right? So that just honestly, you guys, made my teaching feel a little bit more human this year, because I stopped trying to teach second block algebra 2 and I started actually teaching the students who are sitting in front of me. Okay. And speaking of students, this changed my thinking about my students, right? I think the shift really also helps me see the way that I think about student behavior and student engagement, because sometimes what looks like disengagement, avoidance, resistance is really just overwhelm, lack of confidence, or uncertainty about how to participate. And this can go way back to being seen in the productive struggle book that we talked about before, right? And that's something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and especially as I prepare for our next book study. Are you ready for it? Drum roll, please. We're going to be reading Math Therapy. You're going to get it. You're going to love it. It is so good, you guys. I listened to it first, then bought the book. I love it because it's bite-sized and we can all fit it into our classrooms, right? But I picked this also because our math classrooms are emotional spaces, whether we acknowledge that or not. Our students are carrying confidence. They're carrying shame, anxiety, identity into our classrooms every single day, right? And I got to focus more on that this year. And the more intentional we become as teachers, the more we start to notice those things and can help support our students as individuals in the classroom. So here's what I'm taking into next year. I no longer want all my classes to look identical. I know that I have 2 sections of an honors algebra 2 class. I have 1 section of a traditional algebra 2 class. I have 3 sections of algebra 1 intervention. I want every single one of those classes to feel supported, challenged, intentional, and responsive. I no longer want all of them to look the same, right? Because teaching isn't about delivering the same exact experience over and over again. It's about designing those experiences that are going to help our students learn more deeply. And really, guys, that realization is completely changed my teaching this year. So if you want to start thinking more intentionally about projects, performance tasks, and meaningful math experiences, I've got the free guide. Get that here. And if you want to get ready to read along with us for our July book study, Math Therapy, you can grab the book in the show notes. I'm going to link to the physical book and the audiobook because, listen, if you're a podcaster, podcast listener like I am, you might just want the audiobook too, okay? So that's a wrap for this week. I cannot wait to chat with you guys next week where we are talking all about why I finally understand function transformations as a math teacher. So get ready for that. If you've never known, I'm going to school you a little bit. All right, guys, until next time, go catch some sun. Go put some SPF on. If you're going to do that, grab a cold beverage. And as always, keep it real.